Hi everyone on YouTube, this is WHQL here. Just wanted to show you guys Tomb Raider of this game just came out 2013 I think. Pretty good game. I say definitely try to download it if you can. I was going to show you the performance. One thing I definitely have to mention to you guys, I had problems recording games like Battlefield 3 and all kinds of other different games with the Nvidia 314.22 WHQL drivers, like recording using MSI Afterburner. So I had to use the older Nvidia 314.07 WHQL drivers. So those new drivers, the 314.22 drivers, have better SLI support and better SLI scaling. So you'll see in the benchmark that I ran, the frames per second was pretty low compared to what I would normally get with the newer drivers. And I think my high frames per second with the new drivers was like 150, and I was getting like average 80 to 100 frames per second or more and in game, playing right now. With these older drivers right now, you can see my frames per second's pretty low. So I'm going to show you some of the benchmark settings that I have or the gameplay settings. This is just the graphic settings. For the benchmarks, I just ran the in-game benchmark that's in here. So if you want to do that yourself, you just go right here, start benchmark, and you can kind of compare your results with everybody else's. This game has pretty decent scaling, but to put that out there. So right now we're playing at 1920 by 1200 resolution. Vertical sync is off, so it shows the highest frames per second I'll get in game. I got full screen, elusive full screen. You want to turn that off. I think that's something about like widescreen monitors or something like that. Display, I'm only running one display. If you had like three displays, an Nvidia Surround or 3D Vision or whatever, you could run three displays. 16 by 10. Your 1920 by 1080p monitors will only be 16 by 9. This is 16 by 10, so it's a lot wider normally, and you get a higher resolution. Probably turn the brightness up so you can see a little bit better. We're going to go to advanced right here. Now, here's some things that I had to do a little bit different. Okay, you see, I had to do custom settings because it was messing with the settings. It was turning on a setting called TressFX, so I had to turn that off. That's only for AMD video cards. TressFX doesn't work for Nvidia cards. It actually gets horrible frames per second, and I don't know if it's a driver problem or what, but the Nvidia cards do not support that TressSX software that's in the game. And all it does is give particle effects for the hair, so you get more textures and stuff like that. So right now we're running texture quality on ultra, anisotropic filtering is on 16x, hair quality. Now this is what I'm talking about. I only have it on normal. You can go to TressFX and that would drop my frames per second to like literally 2 frames per second in the benchmark. I don't know what it is. It's a problem with the game. Since I'm running the older Nvidia drivers, I had to turn tessellation off. Normally with the new Nvidia drivers, you can turn tessellation on. The reason why I had to turn tessellation off is the game with 3 graphics cards will actually crash with tessellation on. It's a bug that's in the game. So I don't know what's up with that. Shadows, normal setting. Shadow resolutions on high. Level of details on ultra. Reflections is on high. Depth of fields on high. SSAO is on ultra. Post-processing's on, and tessellation's off, and high precision is on. So this is technically ultra settings in the game, just with tessellation off and TressFX off. So I had to turn this off. The hair quality, I had to turn TressFX to normal. So right now we're just going to go to a game. You can see I already beat the game, but I have 70% complete. Now with the new Nvidia 314.22 WHQL drivers, those are the drivers that are really, really good and support the three GPUs. Now with the 314.07 drivers, this is what I'm doing now. You can see this flickering that's in the game. That is a driver problem. It's not a problem with the game. Well, it probably is a problem with the game, but it's a driver problem. So if you get these flickering That's something that I was trying to mention with three-way GPUs. Some of the games will do this weird flickering thing, and this game's really bad for it. So you can see right now I'm getting 93, 92 frames per second average. This is Tomb Raider, the new 2013 game. Definitely highly recommend you download this game. It's very, very good story, very action, long single player campaign. I think about 16 to 20 hours, something like that. I was playing it non-stop for like 2 days. Couldn't stop playing it. Definitely recommend this game. But yeah, I got to show this flickering because this is a problem you'll have with three-way Nvidia 670 GTX and SLI, three-way SLI. Sometimes you get weird artifact flickering. There's nothing wrong with the graphics cards. I pulled out every single graphics card that I own, put it in the top slot of my computer, just one graphics card, single, stress test it, did 3D Mark Vantage, 3D Mark 11, did all kinds of games, benchmarking, did FurMark, to stress test it to see if there's any anomalies, anything wrong with the graphics cards, and there's nothing wrong with the graphics cards. So it's just a weird glitch. Three-way SLI scaling with this driver that I'm using right now is just ludicrous. It sucks. It's really, really bad. Look at my top graphics card. It's only showing 1006 megahertz on the top GPU, and you can see my GPU is not even used. It's only 82 Celsius, 79 Celsius, and 81 Celsius. So the GPU usage for this game only supports two-way SLI with the 314.07 drivers. I'm thinking I got a lot higher frames per second in the benchmark when I ran with the newer drivers, but I can't run with the newer drivers because it won't let me record. Like right now I'm trying to record with MSI Afterburner. It won't let me record this gameplay footage because it will crash with a Windows 7 error in the game. So you can see right here, you can set stuff on fire, and you have like salvage that you get to pick up in the game. It's like trash, so you can upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. Say salvage, and you can say I have all my weapons upgraded to the max. There's a pistol. You see here's my shotgun. The primary, this is the upgraded bow to the highest upgrade you can have in the game. Definitely, I say this game is just so much fun. I say definitely try to download it, try to play it. Tomb Raider, the new game 2013. If you never played Tomb Raider games, it doesn't matter because this story is almost like a prequel. It doesn't apply that much to the other games. You see here it's like an AK-47. Frames per second showing about 75 frames per second. So right now this would be the worst case scenario that you would ever get is to have your, with these drivers, have horrible drivers, no three-way SLI scaling, flickering, and recording at the same time. I'm still getting 92 frames per second. So this game's not super demanding, but once you turn on that Tress FX and tessellation a little bit, it does get a little bit demanding. But with the 3 cards, my frames per second with the new driver, because it fixed tessellation where it wouldn't crash, my frames per second was about the same. You see a dead body there. So I'm just going to run around right here. I'm a bunny. Look at me hop. Oh, man. Bunny. Yeah, I just love what they did this game. See the particle effects? This is something that I keep bringing up Metro 2033. Metro 2033 right now in Crysis 3, it Hitman, Absolution. Those 3 games are setting the tone for benchmarks when it comes to these games. And for graphics, you really want to compare those 3 games because they have the perfect scaling. They have the most VRAM usage. They're very, very demanding. Your frames per second drops. You can see the water detail. The water looks pretty good. To me, this water looks a little bit better than BioShock Infinite. You can see. It's about the same. It's not too bad. But you see, that looks really good with the water up there. So right now, you can see the moon. There's like rays right there. I think normally if there was a sun, they call that God rays. When you have the light rays, they go through the leaves and trees and stuff like that. That's like a particle effect. But yeah, right now I'm looking all the way up at the sky. let's see, let me go in another spot so I can show you. So we're at this bridge right here, looking all the way up at the sky where the trees are. 101 frames per second, 103. Look all the way down. About 91 frames per second average. It's really not that bad. I'm impressed. It's a very, very fun game. If you haven't played it, I definitely recommend checking out Tomb Raider. This is like one of the tombs you can go in to try to get artifacts and stuff like that in the game. So you can like climb. I don't know what it is, but this reminds me of Mirror's Edge. Like when you're about to fall off. Okay, so let me climb up here. When I talk about TressFX, or I'm going to go by this fire and try to tell you exactly what TressFX is. It's a new technology that they really want to make for this game. They tried to make this game, even though, like, with these drivers, the scaling sucks for performance because this is an AMD optimized video game. It even says AMD on the title when it pops up. They tried to make Laura, this is Laura Croft, the character I'm playing, they tried to make her hair look realistic. So with the TressFX model, if you have an AMD video card, like one of the new ones, like a 7970 or 7950, her hair is in strands. It's kind of hard to explain, but they're trying a new thing with the textures. Kind of like how Nvidia does Physics X technology with particle effects and like explosions and bricks going everywhere. Well, AMD tried to focus more on the character models in the game and try to focus on their hairstyles, you know, with the hair strands and everything like that. So they blow in the wind compared to the normal strands. You can see it shooting a machine gun right now. It's not that bad. The frames per second's not dropping at all. I'm guessing, because you can see right here, I'm in 68 frames per second. I'm guessing if you only had one EVGA 670 GTX for the win, you could play this game maxed out settings, the highest settings, but I'm not sure what your frames per second might be. If you have the new drivers, it might be way over 60 frames per second, but if you have these crappy 314.07 drivers, your frames per second might drop below 60 frames per second. I'm thinking maybe 55 frames per second average, maybe less, with a 670 GTX for the win, or just a regular stock reference 670. Yeah, so you can get... So you can see that, I don't know if that's a glitch or what, it's like invisible right there. Some of these games have glitches, so you gotta keep that in mind, like this texture flickering, that's a problem with the game. I'm using the Pirate Cracked version. It's not showing what version this is. This might be version 1.0 or version 1.01 for Tomb Raider. You know, it's pretty much the cracked version, the pirate version. A lot of these games I'll just try out and see how they are before I end up buying them. And that's what even though that's pretty much a no-no, that's what I recommend for a lot of consumers too, is pirate and try to crack, download the cracked versions of the game, try it, and if you like the game, you love the game, you think it's worth a $60 retail price on a video game, buy it. That's what I recommend. This game has some replay value for the single-player game. I say it's definitely worth buying, but the multiplayer campaign, from what I've read on the reviews, really, really sucks. So the multiplayer is not that good at all. So that might be a bad thing. Battlefield 3, even though the single-player campaign wasn't that good, it was pretty good, but it was average. The multiplayer campaign, there was so much replay value, and there's so many things you can keep doing. That's what I want to see in games. I want to see games, there's more replay value. I want to see games that are worth your money. A lot of these games are not worth more money at all. I didn't like Borderlands 2. There's a couple games I really didn't like when I was playing this year. Yeah, it's not too bad. I kind of like this game. I definitely say it's worth buying if you want to play the multiplayer too. You know, it's average, but so right here, this fog detail. You see like fog particle effects. That is really realistic. The fog. I mean, you can't. I love to see stuff like this. There's like wolves in this game, deers and stuff like that, people trying to attack you. If you got a guy who's in the fog and you have your brightness turned down, you can't really see the guy. You have to like literally go in there. So we'll go right down here. There's a torch thing down here. Love the way they did the texture models for the characters. It's very realistic. It's some of the best I've seen. And you can see right here a picture of a wolf. Now, look at this. This is something I want to mention. This has got to be some of the best water I've ever seen for dirty water. It looks like there's like, not mold, but it looks like there's like effects in there. And you're walking through. The blood is really realistic in this game. You can see it's like there's tons of blood. This is a very violent game, so you can see the fire right there. Now, Tress FX, you could see her hair particles that would normally move. Here's some more water. You can see there's bones and stuff like that. Right here in the cave area, I'm getting 92 frames per second. I mean, there's a lot of detail in here. The outside wall textures, like on the wood, could be a teeny bit better. But compared to like Bioshock Infinite, these textures are miles ahead of what was in that game. Oh no, we can't get out. Yeah, I beat this game. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I beat this game a while ago. I don't exactly remember where to go in the game. I pretty much beat all this game right now. This is just me playing around showing you the areas in the game. There's some more particle effects right now. I don't know if you've seen right there, it said TR, where it was showing it was saving. Here's the water effects right here. So I'm looking at the water. I'm in 90 frames per second. So we're going to get up here, and I think there's some deer that we're going to try hunting up in here. And normally at the beginning of the game, your bow would be right here, and this is where you get your bow. But I have the upgraded bow. Let's see, are there any wolves? I might have killed them all. I know a game that really sucked that I played. I didn't like Assassin's Creed 3. The story of the single player game was just awful, and it had some SLI scaling problems, and that would be a game that would make me mad if I spent $60 on Assassin's Creed 3. That game would make me pretty mad. And those games, when they had a deal, when I bought my second EVGA 670 GTX for the win, they were giving Assassin's Creed 3 away. See, here's a deer. Yeah, and I pretty much took out the deer. And then normally you can like harvest his skin, kind of like in Far Cry 3. So I like the ragdoll, they call this ragdoll physics. When you can move the body and it just flops around like that. I kind of like that, you know, it's more realistic. 2 deers? I have the upgraded bow, so it's pretty much like one hit, one kill. These deers with the crappy bow, it takes 2 hits to hit them. You see 87 frames per second. My megabytes of VRAM usage is very low in this game. I'm barely using 2 gigabytes of VRAM. It's only using 1050 megabytes of VRAM. And you can see right now with these drivers, it's only supporting 2-way SLI. So right now my bottom graphics card and my middle graphics card are running in SLI right now. Oh, my bunny! Hop, hop, hop. And normally this is where you can like upgrade your things in the game and get skill points and gears and stuff like that. Yeah, so I definitely recommend it. If you get a chance to play Tomb Raider, try to download it, the pirate cracked version, and if you like it, buy it. It's one of the games that I recommend probably people buying if you like it. The frames per second is not too bad. I mean, I've seen better. I'm thinking you would probably struggle a little bit if you had a regular 660 GTX, not the Ti, but the regular 660. This game might struggle with the frames per second. It might get in that 40 frames per second average. So I'd probably recommend a 670 or a HD 7950, or probably a heavily overclocked HD 7870 to run this game. You know, if you wanted pretty decent frames per second. I love to have my games at 60 frames per second average. That's one of the reasons why I picked up the third EVGA 670 GTX for the win, because I wanted my frames per second to be always 60 frames per second. If it dropped below 60, I can feel it big time. To me, it gets laggy. I don't like it any lower than, that. Now, I've had, run it on single GPU cards, and it is a little bit smoother on a single graphics card at 40 frames per second, but not that much. I mean, it's still laggy to me, and pretty much 40 frames per second would be way too low. So you can see right here, you can't go in there. So I hope this little gameplay footage kind of helped you guys out if you're wondering the performance on this game. Just keep in mind that I'm running the old Nvidia drivers. I'm recording with MSI Afterburner, so my frames per second is going to be dropped a lot lower than normal for most people. But yeah, this is probably my best game of 2013, and I will have to wait for the new games I'm waiting for right now. As I just heard out, Battlefield 4 is coming out pretty soon, and I think, was it fall or summer? I think it's fall 2013 at the end. And in 2 to 3 months, Codemasters Race Driver Grid 2 is the game that's going to be coming out, and I will definitely try to make more racing gameplay videos for you guys. I know you guys are probably sick of Battlefield 3 footage, and I'm pretty decent at first-person shooter games, but when it comes to racing games, I'm in another field. I'm like awesome at racing games. I can pretty much beat everybody, and I invested a lot of hours in Codemasters Race Driver Grid 1. And Race Driver Grid 1, I spent about 2,000 hours online gameplay, and on Dirt 2, I spent about 1,118 hours. So over 1,100 hours on Dirt 2 playing online multiplayer. Yeah, those are definitely my games, and as I say, practice makes perfect, so you play a lot of these games, you get better. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry for me rambling. I just want to show you the frames per second of all these different games. And like I always, if there's a game that you want me to benchmark, or there is a synthetic benchmark that you want me to benchmark and show the frames per second on my 3 EVGA 670 GTX for the wins, please feel free to tell me in the comments or send me a PM message if you want of what you want me to run exactly. Keep in mind, with this setup that I have right now, the performance is right up there. When you have 3 EVGA 670 GTX for the wins, a worst case scenario, because these cards are pretty fast, a worst case scenario is these cards are the same performance as 3 680 GTX reference cards, because I've been benchmarking the scores and playing these different games, and the performance is right up there with 3 680s. Now, if you had 2 Nvidia Titans, with those, the scaling's a lot better, and the Nvidia Titans will smoke this solution. But a lot of these games that support 3-way SLI, I'm still beating the 690 GTX, and I'm still beating the Nvidia Titan, even though that's a $1,000 graphics card. The 3 EVGA 670 GTX for the wins is a $1,200 graphics card with all, if you add all the back plates and everything. So it's almost the same price as that, but it beats it in a lot of benchmarks and games. So if you have the new games with the better drivers that support 3-way SLI, then you're going to get more performance, and this is a cheaper option. The people who are on a budget right now, I can always recommend 2 stock reference, the small PCB 670s, putting those in SLI, and you're getting a solution that's really extremely fast. You overclock them, and you're almost up there with 3. If you overclock them to 670 for the win speeds, you're right up there with two 680 GTX, so it's definitely the way to go. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you liked the video. Sorry for me rambling. And as always, have a nice day, guys.